Okay, so we're going to dive into this picture of you just gave me what you want to work on. You said skill development. You picked your skill, and we're about to unpack this. Now, here's what I love about this. We talk about development, skill development, and I don't ever think we really unpack what that really looks like. And so what we're doing right here, this is a process of development for you. What does it look like to take a skill and go from this is a cool skill to work on to how do I translate this into my day to day? You ready for it? This is the stuff that fires me up. I love this stuff. Okay, so we talked about activation energy, and I based a lot of the kind of like flow through this because I think it's just such a helpful lens. I think a challenge when you think about development is people don't think about how it's going to look in their day to day. And I think the activation energy and time investment gets us an idea of, okay, if I'm going to implement this in my day, what is it going to look like? How much energy is this going to take out of me? What am I ready? But I love connecting it to the skill component. So you have here, you have the low activation, short time investment, high activation, you have long time investment. I'm going to relate this to this picture of skills. Because when you're starting a skill, you don't want to bite off more than you can really chew if you're not ready for it. So where we'll start is, I'm going to put some prompts up here, and this is going to help me know where you feel like you need to start. So this is here. I don't even know where to begin. Okay, so this idea of wherever you are on a skill, being able to connect it to one of these four things. So when it goes to goal and priority setting, is it more in a sense I don't really know where to begin? Is it I feel like a beginner? Is it there's room for improvement? Or is this is like second nature?
Room for improvement.
Great. So the idea here is whenever the space is like right here, this is where I'm going to put the unconscious unskilled. That will be the starting point, mainly because you're focusing on priorities, quick things that you can do in your day to get it going. Habit, it will be unconscious skill. So you're aware of it, you're going to get your reps, but it's still low activation. So this is kind of like, I don't really know a lot about this, so I'm going to be implementing things I'm not aware of as much. So I'm just going to slowly implement it. Now, when you get to this side, this is where things get a little bit more intentional because it might take you a little bit longer to do it and then more energy to do it, but it is also more of a strength of yours. So you've done it before, it's not something brand new. And so when it comes to this section, I think this is where it gets a little bit fun because this is like the learning. You have the conscious skilled, and then you get to this part, conscious unskilled. You see the tie together?
Yeah.
So starting from the unconscious unskilled, we're going with the smallest energy thing in the shortest amount of time. Then it moves up into your unconsciously, oh, I'm sorry, I mixed this up.
Thanks, man.
There we go. I was like, bam, there we go. That makes sense. Then you go into consciously unskilled. So you know that you're unskilled in the area. So that means you can be intentional about it. So you're building a habit around it. Conscious skilled, you know you've done it before, but there's room for improvement. So you can put a challenge around it to push yourself. And then unconscious skilled, this is like second nature. We're going to set a goal to challenge you a lot more. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions on this?
No, it makes a lot of sense. I think more of a obviously comment is like the unconscious skilled. We're basically saying there, you're so good at it, you don't have to think about it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So for this, it's like if someone is here, man, we're going to stretch you big time with a goal. But imagine if someone is here, but they're trying to set a goal around it, they're going to fail just like that. Because they don't even know where to begin. I don't even know where to begin, but you're going to give me a goal around this? No, it's like, give me something small and basic so I can build up to it. I can eventually get here, but I need to start somewhere. So when we talk about development, the idea is if you're starting from the very beginning, you're going from here to here to here to here.
Okay.
So that's where skill development can be a longer journey because you're slowly building out what it looks like to, grow in a skill over time based upon how much energy are you willing to put out for it, and it's just a game changer.
Got it.
Okay? All right, so this is a picture that I want you to get. Now, this is going to make sense to how we're going to translate to what it's going to look like to work on it. So I will, first, this is that, so you can have that to kind of look at.
Okay.
This is your goal and priority setting, just cheat sheet for what to work on. So for you, you're going to be in the section for short, high activation energy. So those are examples, but also things that you can actually do of here are the things that you can invest in when it comes to setting a challenge or a project around this specific skill. So some of those, I'm just going to have you just read them out just to get in your head. I want you to kind of see the types of things that you will do in order to engage with this. Now, also know if you set a project, that also might mean that you have some habits in the mix of it and also have some priorities. So it's not just like a project. It might mean there's a project, plus there's some habits, plus there's some priorities. So it's a lot of things there. But this just gives you an idea of, okay, you figure out kind of the level you're at. Now it's like, here's what it's going to look like getting to work on it.
It's awesome, man. So I'll just read challenges.
Yeah, let's read challenges.
All right. So from left to right, set 3 priorities every day for 100 days. See a coach for 3 to 6 months. Set all your goals for the entire year. Lead a priority setting workshop. Write out all the priorities for 3 upcoming projects. Track your time hour by hour for 2 weeks to see where your time goes. Those last 2 are really sound awesome. Implement a new habit that supports a current goal. Write a blog series on your goal setting experience. Eliminate 5 not urgent, not important tasks from your life this quarter. Set 15 priorities this quarter. 5 passions, 5 strengths, 5 weaknesses.
So you get in the concept it moves from I want to work on this to here are practical things I can do based upon my skill level, and then you start attacking. And we're going to talk today about okay, now what does it look like to bring this into my world? But I want you to be able to see with anything you work on, so I made that for all the different skills, I want people to have an idea. It doesn't matter where your skill level is. There are goals, there's challenges and projects, there's habits, and there's priorities that you can do to slowly start getting better at these skills.
This is really good, man. And I'm actually just looking at it from somebody who may be unconsciously unskilled too. And I think this is just a really cool take on growth. It's again that tier 2 information that's awesome. I love this one, make 3 of your goals SMART goals. For somebody who may not have been through all the different goal gamuts and stuff, that's something to learning about a SMART goal, being able to actually write it in a goal type of statement. It's really good stuff, man.
This is development.
It's just
I love it.
It's so and it just helps make it so evident for why we can't get great at everything. I mean, this is a serious amount of time commitments, and again, it's not just a science. So for instance, right, if I spend some time writing out all the priorities for 3 upcoming projects, as I continue to do that for more upcoming projects, I'm going to continue to get a lot better at figuring out what those priorities are because of the process of doing the priorities that I wrote out. That's what gets me excited about this is I'm already excited about the second iteration of that.
And go ahead and read the goals, because I want people to be able to see that the progression should feel daunting, right?
I didn't even look at this line, by the way. Set 900 priorities in a year. Just give me a second. So 365, 3 priorities a day. All right. You're giving us some weekends off. All right. 900 priorities in a year. Prioritize daily for a year with over 80% consistency. Read 5 books on goal setting. Host and lead a goal setting retreat. Read 5 books on priority setting. Create a goal priority setting resource. Start a group to hold each other accountable on goals. Mentor someone for a year with a focus on goal and priority setting planning. Write a book on goal setting. Write a book on priority setting.
So you see, like, there's some stuff that's like, if someone's like, they're just really good at it, they have a sense, okay, I'm gonna read 5 books. But to lead a retreat, right? You don't just walk into that. That's something that after several years of, man, I've been prioritizing for 5 years, I get this, I know how to lead people through it. That's what I want people to see. So when we talk about development, that's what development is. You start somewhere, oh, I'm just gonna prioritize daily, but you do that over like 3 years and start adding all these other elements. Before you know it, you can lead a retreat. I feel comfortable leading a retreat now just because I've been prioritizing, I've created resources. Like, this stuff has happened because of my intentional work on it. I've read dozens of books on it. So that's what can happen if people just take the time, and this is with every skill that we work on. But the point of this, just to make it more fun and exciting and to take a lot of the thinking out of it, like, what am I gonna do? This gives you kind of a guide of, all right, here's what I can work on and focus on and intentionally do.
I love this, man. My brain like wants to give you a million different stories and anecdotes. If now it's not, but I'll spare you.
I mean, give me one. Why not?
So like we've been trying to figure out something to do for one of our good friends' birthdays, and it's like you run through like axe throwing, aquarium, like good sober fun stuff that we do, but like all these options have been horrible. Like the coolest one I think was like glass blowing. I mean, axe throwing and like sea lion exhibit at the aquarium, stuff that gets me jacked up. But it's like, I love the idea of sitting my friend down and actually like talking to him about what his goals are. Like it sounds so crazy, but I sit there a lot of the times and I'm like, why are there not more like fun, productive things to do? And he's not a big health and fitness guy. So it's like we can't necessarily just go to all those boilerplate things like go on a hike, go up to Amacola, like. But I love the idea of actually just like sitting down because I don't want to do the mindless dinners, the mindless lunches. I want to have an experience. And it's just really interesting to think about these types of things as something that you can do with friends and family. You don't have to play Cards Against Humanity. You can actually just sit down and have a conversation about your goals. It's really interesting stuff. And I think that was the other just comment that I was going to make too, and this came from my reading today. But this idea of, and like there's so many vernaculars like accountability mates, but like your friends and family, coworkers too. And there was a concept in this book too where like it kind of talked about how everybody doesn't necessarily want to see you be successful. Those are probably the best people to share your goals with, which is kind of interesting, a little bit dark and bleak, but if you have those moments where you're like, maybe it's a sibling and you have sibling rivalries, right? Not applicable to me, by the way, but if you have like a sibling rivalry, like challenge them by sharing your goal with them, like bring the right people along for the ride and just see what that does. And if for no other reason, that you told somebody, so you have to at least give it a college try. But I think that was the other thing too, where, sharing goals and finding, so this one, they brought that up was the mentor someone for a year with the focus on goal and priority setting planning. If there was ever a space to enlist help and support, I think that's a really cool option.
What you're doing is what I hope to happen as someone looks at that is just energy and excitement about the possibilities.
It just changes the traditional like thought process too. And it's the same experience I had when I was looking at the spectrum of emotions, right? Like you think you know how you're feeling until you see all the feelings, right? We talked a little bit about joyful today. We talked about fear, anxiety, excitement, but then it's the same type of data that's here, just like the skill building and tier 2 information there. It really elicits thoughts, and it's not necessarily something where And again, I think traditionally, and even me, like I come here, I'm like, all right, I'll have a similar experience as like my corporate experience, but all of the things that you're putting here and providing levels of detail on, it's like applicable to everything. Everything, even date night.
Oh yeah, but also wait until like you start seeing. That's why I was like, I'm not giving you all of them because then you'll go everywhere. But like then you start thinking about active listening. Think about the priorities and the goal setting and all that you can do around those things. And so this is why I get so excited about goals and priorities and all this stuff, because there's so much we can do to intentionally grow in these areas. And if we want to get, I love it. If someone says, I want to be a master at this, I'm like, let's go. I can give them something like this and we can slowly create a plan on what it looks like to get to mastery. I'm like, all right, in 3 years, we're going to say you're going to lead a retreat on this. So all that stuff, just, it's to get excitement around it, but also make our growth less boring, to make it more innovative and fun.